public domain. No copyright notices, nothing. There was no industry yet anyway. And pass it out to all the people that wanted to create this big revolution in computers in the hands of individuals. And so I was giving it out. And then unlike the movie with Ashton Kutcher, where Steve Jobs comes and finds me in a basement and hauls me down to a club, he'd never been to the club. I'd been there every day since the first day it started. I took him to show him the excitement.
Let me ask you another question, because the Apple II computer remained Apple's main source of income for over a decade. Decades later, Apple is still with us. It's a massive company. Would you say Apple remains a tech disruptor nowadays?
I didn't hear the question right.
Would you say Apple remains a tech disruptor nowadays?
Ouch. I don't know what the question is.
Tech disruptor. Is Apple still disrupting technology nowadays?
I don't know. I can go back to the Apple II computer. And the Apple II computer was really the big start for Apple. It was so far ahead of anything else because it was the first time ever arcade games were color. Even though it was a computer, it was the first time ever arcade games were software. That meant that a 9-year-old kid in the language BASIC could make blue and green dots move on a screen and create a game in one night. Before that, it was 100 chips with 1,000 wires, engineer working for maybe a man-year to get together a new game prototype. This was a huge change in gaming as well as computing. And that one computer was so advanced, it helped us. We had an investor that believed in us, Mike Markula, donated the money, and he was the adult in the room. Steve and I were in our young 20s. We had no money in a bank account. We had no business experience. Mike Markula told us who you have to hire, what positions and what their roles and responsibilities were to have a company. So anyway, he invested in this. I said no at first because I had told everyone in my life I would be an engineer at Hewlett-Packard for life. I never would move up the org chart. Because when I was younger, during Vietnam War days, I decided not going to be political, never going to vote. And when you move up an org chart, you get kind of political. I not want to direct other people to do things my way. I just want to do great engineering, hardware and software, and show it off. And that was the reason I built this computer. I finally accepted the money to start Apple because I realized we could start Apple and I didn't have to run the company.
Yeah.
I could just be an engineer. That's what I wanted.
Now that you mentioned politics, the fast technology revolution has given great power and influence to some US tech companies. And nowadays we are seeing some of its leaders actually going into politics and trying to change things by playing a political role. That's the case of Elon Musk, for instance. Do you think Elon will regret having made that move into politics?
Again, the echo is so horrible in here. It's very hard for me to hear you.
You cannot hear me.
Yeah?
I'm asking you, this is getting intimate. I'm asking you about political moves, so entrepreneurs going into politics, such as Elon Musk. Do you think Elon will regret having made that move into politics? Should innovators go into politics?
I think that the skills of politics are very different than the skills for technology companies to have success. So in general, I don't know. It does make sense to run a government like a business, but I don't see that happening in the case of Elon Musk.
Yeah.
I mean, when you run a business, you look around and you look for a consensus and a sharing, and you know, if half your employees feel one way and half the other way, you negotiate, you compromise, or you take one bit at a time. If you're looking to be efficient, one item at a time that maybe we can manufacture a different way or get a different part from somewhere else, but you don't just say everything is out and start fresh. So I don't like what's going on in that regard. And all the big tech companies are just so big. It's like they own our lives. It used to be when we started Apple, we had computer. You bought a computer. You ran some software on it. And you set up and ran your company or whatever with all this stuff. and it always worked, and it was your own. Whatever setups you made worked. Eventually, the internet came. After the internet, then came the social web, then came high bandwidth, and nowadays you have to subscribe to everything, and then once you've subscribed, you don't own it.
Yeah.
You're going through somebody on the cloud. The cloud is a problem. It's not like the old days where you bought something, you owned it yourself.